Nobody knew he was this good.
The man is a winner.
Yes.
He's so smart.
Right now, Jalen Brunson is king.
I think Brunson mentally is the closest thing to what Kobe was in the fourth quarter.
Lord, listen, what we're watching Jalen Brunson do is pure magic.
Kobe Bryant was right about Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks were the proof. June 2026, Game 5 of the NBA Finals. 45 points, 14 of 27 shooting, 13 straight points in the fourth quarter, a championship the city had waited 53 years for. The man who did it was a 6'2" guard that 24 NBA teams passed on in the draft, and the one team that finally took him let him walk 4 years later. Every single Finals MVP voter, all 11 of them, wrote down the same name, Jalen Brunson. But this story doesn't start in San Antonio. It starts 12 years earlier, in a hallway with a question. Christmas Day, 2014. An 18-year-old kid is standing near the visiting locker room after a game, his mother and his high school teammates very close by. A man walks toward him, 5 championships, 2 Finals MVPs, 2 Olympic gold medals, a player who has turned obsession into a religion, and he says 4 words the kid will carry for the rest of his life. Why work if you don't want to be the best? That was Kobe Bryant, speaking to Jalen Brunson. Not a future highlight machine, not a future dunking sensation, not the type of player scouts were going to fall all over themselves to find. Just a kid with a work ethic nobody had fully seen yet, and a man who immediately understood exactly what that was worth. Kobe Bryant wasn't measuring this kid the way the rest of the league measures players. He wasn't looking at size or speed or upside. He was measuring mentality. And 12 years later, that's exactly what won New York a championship. The meeting. The Brunson and Bryant families went back years. Jalen's mother, Sandra, had played college volleyball alongside Kobe's sister, Sharia, and the two stayed close, which is how an 18-year-old kid ended up close enough to Kobe Bryant to shake his hand that night at the United Center. Kobe didn't play that night. He was sitting out to rest a sore body, but his presence, as it always was enormous.
I just remember him walking in the hallway. As a teenager, you're trying to keep your cool. So I said hi, shook his hand or whatever.
And Kobe said something that to this day I will never forget.
And that's when he said, why work if you don't want to be the best? That quote will sit with me forever.
What happened next is the detail that makes the whole story land differently. Kobe came out with the red Christmas Kobe 9s he had planned to wear that night and handed them to Brunson. Here you go, these are for you. Brunson had a high school game the next day. He wore them. He finished with 16 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. But that's not what mattered. What mattered was what he carried out of the hallway. The question, the standard, the idea that there was only one acceptable reason to put in the work. Kobe Bryant was not giving a speech. He wasn't being inspirational for the cameras. He was doing what he always did with everyone he met. He was reading them. And something about the way Jalen Brunson stood in that hallway, shook his hand, held himself, something told Kobe that this kid already had the answer to that question. He just needed someone to make him name it. 24 NBA teams would later disagree with what Kobe saw. Every one of them would be wrong. June 2018, the NBA Draft. Jalen Brunson had just won the national championship at Villanova. He had been named the consensus National Player of the Year. He had the Bob Cousy Award, the Lute Olson Award, the Big East Player of the Year. He had led his team to 2 NCAA titles in 3 years, and the NBA passed on it. Every team in the first round looked at their board and decided that the National College Player of the Year was not worth a first-round selection. 3 of his Villanova teammates, Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, and Amari Spellman, were all taken in the first round. Brunson was not. The Dallas Mavericks finally selected him 33rd overall in the second round. That's the extra pick you use when you're not sure. The slot that tells a player, before he's laced up a single NBA shoe, exactly what the league thinks of him. The reasons were always the same. Too small, 6'2", but played smaller. Not explosive enough. Not a creator off the bounce the way scouts wanted. A college overachiever, they said. The kind of player who wins in a system, but struggles when the defenses get smarter. ESPN's Jay Billis disagreed. He's an excellent point guard, Billis said on draft night. I'm not sure I've come across a more mature player in the course of my years in college basketball.
Jalen Brunson is mature and he is a winner.
But maturity doesn't show up on a draft board. Obsession does not get measured at the combine. And the thing Kobe saw in a hallway 4 years earlier, that didn't fit in a box score from a pre-draft workout. So the whole league passed, and Jalen Brunson went to Dallas. And the first thing Dallas did was pair him with Luka Doncic, the most generationally gifted offensive player the league had seen in years. Which meant Brunson became the support act, the smart, reliable guard who set the table, the guy who kept things moving when the star was resting. Everyone saw a role player. Nobody saw what was coming next. April 18, 2022, Game 2, Dallas versus Utah in the first round of the playoffs. Luka Doncic was out with a calf injury, the star of the franchise, the player everyone came to see, the player who carried the entire offensive identity of the Dallas Mavericks, was sitting in street clothes on the bench. The Utah Jazz had just won Game 1. Dallas was down, at home, without their best player. Most teams in that situation lose. Most teams collapse inward, run out of answers, and wait for their star to come back. Jalen Brunson did not wait. He scored 41 points on 15 of 25 shooting. He grabbed 8 rebounds, he added 5 assists, and in 42 minutes on the floor, he did not commit a single turnover. The Mavericks won 110-104 and tied the series 1-1. NBA.com described it plainly, a former second-round pick delivering an enormous bounce-back win in a must-have game. But what the numbers couldn't show was what it meant for how people saw him. Up to that point, Brunson was still the smart, reliable secondary guard, the efficient one, the one who makes the right play, the one who won't hurt you. Then the lights got hotter. The star was out. The pressure was as real as it gets. And Brunson stepped into that void as if the responsibility had always belonged to him. Because in his mind, it had. The world thought Luka's injury would expose Dallas. Instead, it exposed something else. Jalen Brunson had already been preparing to be that guy. He became the first player in Dallas Mavericks franchise history to score 40 points in a playoff game without a single turnover. The list of Mavericks with 40-point playoff games before him was Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic, Rolando Blackman, and Nick Van Exel. He joined that company and didn't blink. It was the first great public example of what Kobe's question had been asking him to become. Not waiting for permission, not shrinking because the bigger star wasn't available. He was stepping into the void as if stepping into it was the only natural thing to do. After those 2022 playoffs, after carrying Dallas to the Western Conference Finals while Luka returned, after proving something the whole league had seen, Brunson became a free agent. Dallas had their chances to keep him, and they let him go. The team that had watched him score 41 in a playoff game without a single turnover decided they weren't going to commit to him at the level he had earned. So he left, and he signed with the New York Knicks for 4 years and $104 million, and the skepticism barely skipped a beat. Too much money for a complimentary player, that was the consensus. Too much money for a guy who looked great next to Luka, but might just be a product of the system. Too much money for a guy whose game is built on footwork and positioning, and craft when the league is built on athleticism and creation. A very good guard, that's what most people saw. Not a franchise cornerstone, not a guy you build around, not a guy who could carry a city. Kobe was already gone. He died in January 2020. He never got to see where the question he asked in the hallway was needed. But what he understood, that this player's greatness would come from obsession, not flash, was about to be proven for everyone to see. The Big Apple. There is no pressure in basketball like New York pressure. There is no fan base more impatient, more demanding, more aware of what hasn't been accomplished and exactly how many years have passed since it was. The Knicks had not won an NBA title since 1973. That's more than 50 years of near misses and disappointments and false dawns. Patrick Ewing, the 1999 run, Carmelo's teams, all of it falling short. When Brunson arrived, the skeptics had a new argument. Knicks contracts, Knicks move, Knicks history. The kind of franchise that chews up good players and turns them into cautionary tales. He averaged 24 points per game in his first season. By year 2 in New York, he was an all-star, then another, and then a third. But it was the playoffs where the narrative started to break. Because Jalen Brunson in the playoffs was something different from what the regular season showed. In the regular season, you saw a very good player. In the playoffs, you started seeing something that couldn't be explained by the checklist. Something that looked increasingly like the thing Kobe had been pointing at. 2024 NBA playoffs, first round, New York versus Philadelphia. Game 3, Brunson scores 39. The Knicks lose. Not enough. Not yet. Then, watch what happens next. Game 4, he scores 47. a Knicks postseason record at the time. He also adds 10 assists. The first player in Knicks playoff history to combine 40 points and 10 assists in a single game. Game 5, he scores 40. Game 6, he scores 41 with 12 assists. The Knicks win 118 to 115. Series over. He averaged 35.5 points per game in that series, against one of the best defensive teams in the league. New round, same number. 2 days later, Game 1 against Indiana, he scores 43. 4 straight playoff games with at least 40 points. The fourth player in NBA history to do that. The others on the list? Jerry West, Michael Jordan, and Bernard King. Then 3 games later, in Game 5 of that same series, he topped it again, 44 points. This is when the narrative cracked. Because one giant game can be dismissed. People dismiss them all the time. LeBron will do that. That was Steph on a night when everything went in. Hot hand, big moment, phenomenal. 4 straight games under maximum playoff pressure cannot be dismissed. 4 straight games is a pattern. 4 straight games is what you return to when the fire gets hottest and you decide again that this is exactly the place you belong. At some point, the explosions stopped feeling random. They started feeling ordained. And that is the thing Kobe's mentality creates. Not the explosions, the inevitability. The sense that when the pressure rises, this player doesn't shrink, doesn't look around for someone else to take over. Just lifts his chin, sets his feet, and decides. Brunson's footwork became something commentators kept returning to in the years that followed. 2 seasons later, on the eve of the Eastern Conference Finals, Reggie Miller put it on national TV.
Too good of footwork, his mechanics are great, his foundation is fantastic. That dude just scares me if a game is close and the ball is in his hands.
Those were not random words. Those are words that come from a watching player who has spent years and years and years working on the same small things until they become automatic. Obsession, discipline, the refusal to lower the standard. He wore Kobe's shoes. He refused a Nike signature offer because he only wears Kobe. He had been carrying that question for 10 years. Summer 2024. The Knicks come to Brunson with an extension. He could wait. If he waited until the following year, he would be eligible for 5 years and $269 million, fully guaranteed, the Supermax, the biggest number available. Instead, he signs the extension early, 4 years, $156.5 million. He leaves $113 million on the table, on purpose. Not because he had to, not because he was pressured, because he understood that what the Knicks needed to build a championship roster was the financial flexibility he could provide by taking less. The money he left on the table gave New York the flexibility to re-sign OG Anunoby, extend Mikal Bridges, and complete the Karl Anthony Towns blockbuster. None of those moves happen if Brunson takes all of his money. None of that roster gets built. The kid who was told, "Why work if you don't want to be the best?" had grown into a man who understood that being the best sometimes means making the move that costs you the most in the short term. He had just built himself a championship roster. Now all that was left was winning it. June 2026, New York Knicks versus San Antonio Spurs, the NBA Finals. The Knicks had survived the 6-game scare against Atlanta in the first round, then swept Philadelphia and Cleveland. They entered the finals on an 11-game playoff winning streak, pushed it to 13, and arrived in Game 5 carrying 53 years of a city's patience on their backs. And in Game 5, down by double digits in the opening quarter, the Knicks looked briefly like it might not happen. Then, Brunson took over. He finished with 45 points on 14 of 27 from the field and 13 of 15 from the free throw line. He scored 15 of those points in the fourth quarter alone, including 13 straight at one point, turning a double-digit deficit with 8 minutes left into a lead the Spurs would never recover. No other Knicks scored more than 14 points in the game. The Knicks won 94-90, series 4-1, championship. His 45 points were a Knicks finals record. They tied Michael Jordan's 1998 total for the most points scored on the road in a finals clinching game. All 11 finals MVP voters chose the same name, unanimous. Jalen Brunson, 2026 NBA Finals MVP, averaged 32.6 points, 4.6 assists, and 4.2 rebounds across the series. After the final buzzer, he found his father, Rick Brunson, the man whose family had once stood with an 18-year-old Jalen in a hallway to shake hands with Kobe Bryant. was standing on the court as a Knicks assistant coach. The son who had heard those 4 words now held the Larry O'Brien trophy. How many times in the driveway and in the schoolyard and the gym after everyone else had left had this begun? How many repetitions had answered that question over and over again? Why work if you don't want to be the best? This is why. What Kobe saw. Here's what everyone kept getting wrong about Jalen Brunson. The modern NBA evaluates players by ceiling, athleticism, size, explosion at the rim, the ability to turn nothing into something with raw talent. Brunson had none of that at a level that made scouts excited. But Kobe Bryant evaluated players the way someone who'd achieved everything through obsession and discipline evaluates people. He looked for the mentality. Mentality isn't measurable. There's no sprint that times a refusal to be ordinary. No vertical leap that captures a player studying footwork at midnight when the gym is empty. But Kobe could see it in how a player carries himself, how he shakes your hand and looks at you. It communicates something the combine never will. Brunson went on to say that he refused a Nike signature deal because he would rather have an unlimited supply of Kobe's than his own signature shoe. He kept the question, he kept the shoes, he kept the standard. And his Villanova teammate Mikal Bridges, now his teammate on the Knicks championship team, said it perfectly about the 2018 draft night when Brunson slid out of the first round. Teams can make measurements and stuff too important compared with just watching basketball. 30 teams watched the measurements. One man in a hallway in 2014 watched the basketball. Kobe Bryant was not wrong. The New York Knicks last won an NBA championship in 1973. Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, a city that has been waiting longer than most NBA players have been alive, 53 years. And the player who ended it is a 6'2" guard who was passed on by 30 teams, who doesn't have a signature shoe deal because he only wears the shoes of the man who told him in a hallway that there is only one reason to put in the work. Brunson, Bridges, and Josh Hart won the 2016 NCAA title together at Villanova. Brunson and Bridges won again in 2018 after Hart had graduated. The 3 are now the first college teammates to win both an NCAA title and an NBA championship together. Greatness built on obsession doesn't announce itself. It accumulates quietly in empty gyms and $113 million left on the table and 45 points when no other Knick could get the ball to go in. Kobe Bryant asked a question in a hallway, 12 years before anyone else was paying attention. Jalen Brunson spent those 12 years answering it. New York just got the proof. If this is your first time here, welcome to Rattling the Rim. And really, thanks for watching. I appreciate you checking us out. I would love to build a great community here, so please drop your takes, your thoughts, and your debates in the comments. Tell me if Kobe called it. Tell me if you saw this coming. Tell me what everybody else got wrong, because that is what this channel is for. And if you want to be here when the next truth lands, subscribe, turn on notifications. We're just getting started. Rattling the Rim is where the truth shatters the backboard.